It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
That's it. We're Red Eye Radio. I'm here. Hello. Ready to go.
All right.
I didn't have my headphones on.
All right.
Wow.
They do help.
All right. First off, the breaking news from Minneapolis from the last couple of hours about another shooting. Bill Maluzhin actually went through everything on Twitter earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting because you look at the New York Times headline, and it doesn't match what apparently actually happened. Here's from Bill Maluzhin. At 6:50 p.m., federal law enforcement officers were conducting a targeted traffic stop in Minneapolis of an illegal alien from Venezuela who was released into the country by Joe Biden in 2022. In an attempt to evade arrest, the subject fled the scene in his vehicle and crashed into a parked car. The subject then fled on foot. The law enforcement officer caught up with the subject on foot and attempted to apprehend him when the subject began to resist and violently assault the officer. While the subject and the law enforcement were in a struggle on the ground, two subjects came out of a nearby apartment and also attacked the law enforcement officer with a snow shovel and broom handle. As the officer was being ambushed and attacked by the two individuals, the original subject got loose and began striking the officer with a shovel or a broomstick. Fearing for his life and safety as he was being ambushed by three individuals, the officer fired defensive shots to defend his life. The initial subject was hit in the leg. All three subjects ran back into the apartment and barricaded themselves inside. The attack officer and subject are both in the hospital. Both attackers are in custody. Just see here. And then he writes, this attack on another brave member of law enforcement took place while Minnesota's top leaders, Governor Walz and Mayor Frey, are actively encouraging and organized resistance to ICE and federal law enforcement officers. Their hateful rhetoric and resistance against men and women who are simply trying to do their jobs must end. Federal law enforcement officers are facing a 1,300% increase in assaults against them as they put their lives on the line to arrest criminals and lawbreakers. And I do want to get here before we go any further. This was from the press conference that the Minneapolis Police Chief had on the situation and what was going on. And this was from an hour ago, where he talks about there is a crowd gathered in the area. The crowd is engaged in unlawful acts. They've thrown fireworks at police officers, and multiple times gas has been deployed. But here it is. Here's what he had to say.
At 6:51 p.m., Minneapolis police received a 911 call reporting a shooting on the 600 block of 24 Avenue North. Preliminary information indicates that there was a struggle with a federal agent in front of the resident. During the struggle, the federal agent discharged his weapon, striking one adult male. The adult male then retreated inside of the residence, where he remained inside and refused to come out. Eventually, federal agents made entry into the residence, and the individual was brought to an ambulance where he has been transported to the hospital. Minneapolis police have secured the crime scene around the location, and the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, as well as the FBI, are on the scene processing the evidence. There's a crowd gathered in the area, and we have called for mutual aid from the Minnesota State Patrol and Hennepin County Sheriff. The crowd is engaging in unlawful acts. They have thrown fireworks at police officers, and at multiple times, gas has been deployed. Police are attempting to disperse this unlawful assembly at this time.
from the Minneapolis Police Chief, which, by the way, does not go into detail. And I will tell you this, Maluzhin's report was from 3 hours ago. This is from a little over an hour ago. Fox News had it out an hour ago. Maybe it was, hour, 90 minutes ago, whatever. But he's only, the indication that he gives is it was just one-on-one.
Right.
The police chief there.
Right.
That there was one person who ran in. Maluzhin, in his ex-post, by the way, Bill Maluzhin is he still with Fox? Didn't he get a promotion? So didn't he
yeah, he's covering Capitol Hill for Fox News now. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's in Minneapolis.
Right.
And so one thing about Maluzhin is he probably has more credibility covering illegal immigration
sources,
overall than anybody that I know. I mean, in every single instance that happens, he seems to be on top of it.
Yeah. He, in fact, when he posted that he was, this goes back to November of last year, a few months ago, that he's excited to announce that I've moved to Washington, D.C., where I'll be taking on a new role with Fox News as a congressional correspondent covering Capitol Hill. But in a situation like this, of course, all your sources are going to be, you're going to be texting your sources at the very least so that you can put something out on social media, because so many people turn to Bill Maluzhin on social media. I think I can't tell you. I mean, he's got a following of over 600,000 on X alone. And I think a lot of people, he knows that they kind of expect him to take the lead and actually tell the truth on stories. Because I'm going through I kept them, and I wanted to make sure they were on my phone because I knew what was going on. I'd read Bill Maluzhin's posts, but I also knew, based on what we had seen before with the Portland shooting, 2 persons were shot. Here's this is CNN at 9:14 Central Time. Person shot in the leg by federal law enforcement in Minneapolis after assaulting an officer. Washington Post, 10 p.m. Central Time.
Only one person was shot.
Right. But no, but they don't talk about what, if it's a person, if it's is this someone who was at one of the activists at the protests, or is this a local resident? Is this a U.S. citizen?
Right. And Maluzhin has the same thing here when looking at the New York Times headline that says, federal agent shoots immigrant in Minneapolis. Homeland Security says the agent shot an immigrant from Venezuela in the leg while trying to arrest him. And officials said the shooting comes a week after ICE agent fatally shot a woman in the city. Maluzhin writes, this is the headline the New York Times went with for the ICE shooting in Minnesota. No mention of the alleged shovel attack, multiple suspects involved in the alleged attack, legal status of the targeted illegal alien, and more.
Right. It's Washington Post, 10 p.m. Central. Federal agent shoots person in leg as Minneapolis protests flare. Well, that leaves it wide open. What, you mean just shot a person in the leg?
Right.
They just because what they're trying to do now is shape this into the other shooting in Minneapolis from a week ago. They're trying to make this like the shooting of is good, that this is the same thing, that it was a person, or a couple of the headlines as he points out here that I saw, immigrant.
Right.
Well, legal immigrant, illegal immigrant. Why would ICE be encountering someone? And was this person? What did the person do? What was the scenario? At least CNN's notification went as far as to say after assaulting an officer. All right. Then that tells me that there was a back and forth, that the officer was assaulted, and then there was the shooting. I don't expect them to tell the whole story in a headline, but they go out of their way to make you believe it's something that it's not. And that's part of the activist in today's newsroom. That's part of the activism that's very much alive in the newsrooms today.
And you only do that in order to enrage people to commit violence.
Right.
There's no other
Right.
reason. There's no other reason, and we've said this. The Democratic Party wants a significant portion of the Democratic Party wants the violence.
Right.
Mayor Fry wants the violence.
Right.
Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, they want the violence. The media, which is doing this on purpose, not relating the entire story that they're getting to the public, is doing it because they believe the violence will help their cause.
Right. And they know the sensibility of today's consumer of news. Right. You write whether it's the headline or push notification that goes to a device, you're writing it as you would a post on Twitter back in the day. And you leave out the details, but you shape it with words that leave out too many details to make it wide open, to make it look like, well, ICE is just going around shooting people.
Right.
And you want people to come away with that in their mind when they see that on their device, knowing that most people, the average person, isn't the walk. They're not going to be reading the stories. They're not going to be opening and asking questions. By the way, a lot of the time when you open the story, when you click the link on the push notification or whatever the headline might be on social media, you get to the story and they still don't tell the whole story. And they can use as many words as they want. And they go out of the way to lie by omission. That's the liberal activist media. They're a part of it. They're a part of shaping the minds, and we've seen it over and over again. And they argue to no end. They don't care anything about people's safety. They care nothing.
No, they don't. They care
about
nothing
people's
about
safety.
it. No.
Because
No.
the evildoers are ICE agents who work for the people. They're assigned to a job, a very specific job.
Right. That's what the left believes.
The left wants you to believe the evildoers are the ones with the badges, and they will not. You don't hear anybody, with the exception of someone like Stephen A. Smith. You have to go over to the sports world to get a little truth. This is exactly what the media does and has been doing for the longest time, and they see this as their role. They're activists. And I still don't know the answer to how Barry Weiss is going to flip that massive liberal pancake over at CBS News without getting a mess everywhere, because you're looking at an entire newsroom that's been around forever, populated by the same kind of activists. And if you fired everybody day one, I don't know who would be left to hire.
Yeah.
Bill Maloogian has a job.
Well, you and I said that when she took over.
Yeah.
We said, I don't know if she truly understands the rot, the
Right.
political activism.
Right.
You know, because you and I, for the longest time, have told Republicans, stop saying that the liberal media is going to learn their lesson and start practicing journalism. We heard this after, was it the Mueller report?
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember that was the first, that it was like, well, now after the Mueller report has come out and everything else and all this stuff, maybe the media will start. They're not journalists. They're political activists.
Remember when a couple of them themselves, after 2016, after Trump won, they said, "Oh, maybe we should just, put our overalls on and go over to some of those flyover states." And they got back from their 3 martini lunch and said, "We're not doing that." But this is who they are, and that lack of understanding, it's hard to know, but I don't know if what Barry Weiss believes, but we do have to question that, and the reason I say that is because a few years back, I did an interview with Sean Spicer, and I said the activists that are in that press room every day, they're not journalists, they're activists. And Sean Spicer, who was working for Trump at that time, said, I've never heard it put that way. And I thought to myself, I can't be I didn't say it to him, but I thought, I can't be the first person that said that. You and I had been saying it for a while by then. But they are activists, and this is what they see their role as. They don't.
They're as far away from being a journalist as a plumber is to being an electrician.
Exactly. Yes. I dare say a plumber could probably figure it out.
I will say this though.
Yeah.
I was talking to a relative a couple of weeks ago about electricity, and I went, just think of it as plumbing. So maybe that was the wrong one to do. maybe that was the wrong analogy to use.
Well, but you think about the whole Russian hoax thing, and the now defunct I don't know if you call them news organization, whatever it was, but they posted the story they in fact posted the Trump files and said the dossier. Well, we're going to post this, and it was BuzzFeed is who it was. And the editor of BuzzFeed said, they even put a disclaimer. We don't even know if all of this is true, but we're going to post it anyway. And then when he was confronted about that, the editor of BuzzFeed said, this is the role we see our journalists in today. Yeah. Well, they're not journalists, they're activists. Yeah. By the way, by then, it had been going on for a long, long time.
But they did pay the price.
Of course they did.
They're gone.
And look at cable news. Same thing.
Yeah, the ratings, horrible.
Right. I mean, if you're going to be an activist, go out there on the street with a sign or do whatever, but you're not a journalist and don't call yourself one.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller. Drivers must always be prepared for a roadside inspection. This means drivers should always have their personal, vehicle, and company credentials organized and ready. The top 2 violations written against drivers every year are log, general form and manner, and log not current. Both are completely avoidable if the driver keeps the log accurate, compliant, and current at all times. Having the vehicle ready for inspection involves the driver conducting daily inspections and making sure any problems that are discovered are immediately corrected. Vehicle readiness also requires the company to make sure that the vehicle is current on all scheduled maintenance and that the maintenance schedule is adequate. This will make sure the driver is being given a sound vehicle to start with. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, coming up on the bottom of the hour. We may have to play this audio cut every single hour. Can men get pregnant? He dealt with that again yesterday.
Oh, my gosh.
Josh Hawley back and forth.
So stupid.
Was just, it's just the most bizarre thing. And as we've said before, the left and the Democratic Party wholly endorses it. It's 99% of the Democrats in Congress that support the insanity of the insanity and the misogyny of the women hatred of the radical transgender movement.
Yeah.
Now, it may not be all Democrats, but it's 99% of the Democrats in Congress.
Right.
We know that.
Yes.
Based on their votes.
The votes.
So we'll get to that here in a little bit. Plus, any update from the situation in Minneapolis and everything surrounding it. Then, as we know, the one ICE agent actually received internal injuries now. I'm going to love to see the spin on that one.
Right.
Well, and I know what the spin might be. Taking it to the absurd point of view coming up here.
Catch Red Eye Radio live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when you choose. So, I had this last week, and I forgot about it over the weekend. And I was traveling. I just completely forgot about it. And I thought about it this today after I saw that the one ICE agent got internal injuries. And you and I went through the evolution of, the media covering that. And we're seeing now the beginning of this attack on this ICE agent tonight. We're seeing the beginning of how they cover it and don't cover it accurately and watch the goalpost, move. Right. And so you sit there and you go, what do they want? And I saw this post last week and I went, oh my God, this is just great. This guy writes on X, lawyer here, you cannot shoot someone while they are trying to kill you because you don't know if they have killed you yet. Legally, you have to wait until the attack is complete. Then you can decide what to do. The ICE agent thug did not do that. This was murder. I mean, they're not. It's not far off.
No,
it's not.
This is how they think, because you have to if you read that, you first have to ask, is he being serious? Because if he's a liberal extremist, a liberal extremist thinks that way. This is exactly what they want you to believe.
Let me read. I want to read it again in case people missed it. All right, right. The guy was being sarcastic,
of course.
Lawyer here, you cannot shoot. But then again, you made a great point. The left might believe that.
No. It's how they make their case. Every time you'll see this, well, but the agent didn't die. When we learned yesterday now, that the agent had internal bleeding. By the way, the second time that we know of that this agent has had someone weaponize a vehicle against him specifically.
Right.
And when we learned that he had internal bleeding as a result of the event the other day, I was waiting for someone to say, yeah, but he didn't die. On the left.
Yeah, exactly.
I was waiting for them to make this, to say, which is exactly what this lawyer with tongue firmly planted in cheek is trying to point. He's trying to make.
One more time. Lawyer here, you cannot shoot someone while they are trying to kill you because you don't know if they've killed you yet. Legally, you have to wait until the attack is complete. Then you can decide what to do.
Right.
The ICE agent thug did not do that. This was murder.
Yes.
I mean, but that's how bizarre it's getting now. Because remember, the mayor of Minneapolis, Fry, afterwards, well, he might have hurt his hip a little bit.
Right.
Well, my God, you don't know in that situation, as we said early on. And boy, did you see the CNN panel go crazy? Mm. If she would have followed, if she would have not pulled out into the street, and if even at that point, if she would have followed precisely what the ICE agent said, there would have been no problem.
Right.
Nobody would have walked away.
Right.
Nobody would have walked away dead. End of story. And they were screaming about it. No. That would have happened.
Yes.
And it's like you and I talked about this a long time ago. When we talk about getting pulled over, when I get pulled over, it's a law enforcement. I'm not going to differentiate and go, oh, you're an ICE agent? Well, to hell with you. I'm just going to drive away.
Yeah.
I'm going to see what they want.
Right.
And see what they pull me over. I don't know what the situation is. I don't know why they are pulling me over. All I know is if they're official, I obey the instructions.
Well,
and so when they come up to the car, when I get pulled over, I turn the engine off. I'm very quick at pulling my wallet out. I have my license in my hand, in my left hand. Don't really need the insurance much anymore. You don't got to really. I don't want to be reaching over there to the as they're walking up, thinking I may be going for a gun or something.
Right.
So, but if I don't even have that, I've got it on my phone. But it doesn't matter. I haven't had. The last time I got pulled over, was it 7-8 years ago? And it was a construction zone right near my neighborhood, and they went, it's 44, it's on 35. I go, thought it was 45. Goes, whatever, and they let me go. But I had windows were down, every light inside the dome light, everything's on inside. My hands 10-2 in my left hand. I got the license when they come up. That's what I do. Why?
Beer in the cup holder. You make sure that everything is in a safe place.
Right. Take, well, the windows are open to flip the roach out, flip the roach out the window.
Right. Weeds under the seat where it belongs.
And then going through my mind, wait a minute, is it legal now? Oh, wait a minute. I can't smoke it in the car.
Wild driving.
Do you remember that one? Remember the one thing about the guy about legal weed? I think it was on 60 Minutes or something. This goes back about 15 years ago. And you and I were going, what the hell's going on? The guy was smoking while driving.
Yeah.
It's like, well, weed may be legal, but you can't drive smoking pot.
Right.
I was like, what the hell's going on?
I know my rights, man.
But that's something that, we've talked about. And the number one, there's two reasons. The number one reason is always self-preservation.
Yes.
That's always the number one reason.
Yeah.
I don't want to die.
Yes.
Reason number two, very close to reason number one, I don't know what the purpose of me getting pulled over was. I don't know if there was a car of somebody who committed a violent crime that might be like the one that I have. I don't know, what the situation is. And number three, I have absolute respect for the job that they're doing, and I put myself in their position. And when I got pulled over last time, it was at night. And I don't want to make any wrong move because I don't want to put my life in danger, or I don't want them to think that their life is in danger in any way. When they come up to my car, they know, if they ask me the questions after, they know exactly what my intentions are at that point.
Well,
I'm going to work.
Yeah.
I've got a drug buy,
Right. I'm about to meet a guy about a thing. And then later, coffee instead of coffee with a cop, coffee with a lawyer.
I'm meeting. My name is Shamrock. I'm meeting Sal.
That's right. I got to go over here, this thing over here with Sal.
Yeah, you have to understand that's the independent mockumentary that I'm in. That's
and
my name.
I've done the same thing. It was back in 2006. My nephew and my son wanted to go skiing, and I was like, all right, I've got the week off, and I'm not going to do any skiing, but I'd kind of like an adult, involved here. They were old enough to go. My nephew was old enough, certainly, to drive them, and my son had his driver's license, and I thought, I'll feel more comfortable if I just go along. Let's all just have a, family outing, just the three of us. Got pulled over in Colorado on I-25 by a state trooper, and I was hanging out in the left lane. That was the problem there. He goes, because you just can't hang out. It was nighttime. Okay. Again, I have to roll the windows down. I tell the guys, my nephew and my son, hey, guys, got to roll the window down, turn the dome lights on. It's nighttime. So then we have to go to New Mexico because there was a snowstorm in Colorado that shut down the major highways. We couldn't get to the resort we wanted to go to. So we went to Cimarron, New Mexico. Near Cimarron, New Mexico, there's a ski area. I'm in Cimarron, coming down off the mountain. I get pulled over by a local officer, and the speed limit drops, like it goes from like 50 to 30, and I didn't see the sign. I just didn't see the sign. That's on me. Same thing though. I've got 3 fully grown males as far as the officer is concerned. It's dark. We've got a bunch of stuff in the car with us, jackets, everything, ski stuff and all that. We're in a sedan. My windows are tinted. So same thing. I told the guys, hey, the procedure. I'm rolling down the windows and I'm turning on the dome light. 2 things. Number one, the officer has a gun, and if he fears that somebody is making a move, he can use that gun. That's deadly force. I don't want to be in that situation. I don't want anything at all for that officer to have to worry about in that moment. Let's all go home. That's the idea. And you look at the situation in Minnesota. And if I were in that situation, if I'm there and there's a protest and there's ICE agents that if you want to stand over here with the crowd and peacefully be out of the way, not obstructing, then that's one thing. You get in your vehicle and start to leave. If I weren't even part of the protest, but let's say I had to go pick my daughter up or something, I had to get in or go to work, had to get in the vehicle to leave, I'd ask anybody and everybody, am I clear? This is my car. Am I clear to get out of the way here? Can I even get in the car? Because they don't know what you're doing. If you don't communicate with them, they have no idea. I wouldn't have known and didn't learn it until after the incident happened, that very agent that got hit by Ms. Good had also been involved in another incident where he was dragged by a car months before that. So I have no information. I want to communicate, hey, I just want to this is my vehicle. I just want to get in my vehicle and leave. Can I do that? And then if they say no, I'm going to find something else. I'm going to get out of the way, because the last thing I want to do is attack an agent, get in the face of an agent that's there to do a job and doesn't know if I'm a threat or not.
This goes back probably about 16 years ago. I was in my house a couple of years. And I've told the story before because that's when I used to do my hockey skating workouts.
Yeah, right after your figure skating workout.
And so I'm in my garage, cup of coffee, got my skates over my shoulder, and hit the garage door opener. The garage door opens. I look, walking right on my sidewalk and on my driveway, probably on the lawn a little bit. I mean, there's 50 DEA, FBI agents. I'm like, what the hell? I was just mouth open. They weren't paying attention to me, the garage door, and they're just walking 2 houses down. Well, what happened was apparently the guy who lived 2 doors down was part of the Mexican cartel.
Oh,
I had no idea. We had no idea about that at all. And they whatever they busted him on, I don't know. But I remember, that they were milling around, and I said, I'm like, I'm just not pulling out and leaving.
Right.
I'm making sure everything is cool. I'm
right.
Like, hey, can I leave? Is it
right.
okay? Oh, yeah, it's fine. You can leave. Everything is
right.
Everything is cool. And they had already arrested him and everything else. It was, I guess, going through the house and searching the house for whatever.
Right.
And so, but I was always, because I don't know. I don't know what's happening. But I will say one thing. I'll never forget. There's a SUV pulling very slow down the street. And all of a sudden the window opens, and it's 2 of my neighbors, my 2 female neighbors, and they see my jaw drop. And they're all laughing, pointing at me. And I did go up, and because I went up to talk to them. I'd already talked to the couple of the agents. Can I leave? And go, yeah. I said, something going on? And go, yeah, big bust. I said, oh, okay. Didn't know. Had no idea. Said, so we're all cool here. They go, yeah, cool. And then they pulled up, but they had seen me, and I went off, and they just said, I go, what is it? And they said, and they told me, they said it's a drug bust. The agents wouldn't tell me it was a drug bust.
Right.
But apparently they knew. And but yeah, just because, number one, if I'm dead, I can't fight police brutality. If it is police brutality or police misconduct, I can't fight it in the courts.
Right. Look, I don't know what they know, or what they believe, or what they're seeing from their perspective. Right. So I'm going to do everything I can to make sure it's very clear if I'm in a situation like that, and stay the hell out of the way.
And liberals don't believe that.
No.
They don't.
No.
They don't believe that. They don't believe, no, you cooperate.
Right.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara, just reading here from Nora Rothman, National Review. It is every American's God-granted constitutional right to mouth off on the internet about events that they do not understand and circumstances they couldn't possibly comprehend. But that doesn't mean they won't humiliate themselves in the process.
Yeah.
And they go through the whole thing. This is the whole thing of the media. I just want to read that a little part there as they go through and just pounds on all the people that kept moving the goalpost on it. They didn't want to tell you what information all existed out there. They didn't want to give the ICE agent the benefit of the doubt. They took sides before they knew what happened, and they took sides even when it wasn't favorable for Ms. Good in the car.
Right. Yep.
And what she did.
Yep.
And it's just like
trying to form a narrative that isn't the truth.
Yep. Just like we're seeing last night.
Yes.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley. You know, when you look at the Minneapolis thing, when you go back and you look at the summer of 2020, when you really look over the last decade from Democrats, one of the things that we have said, you know, looking not just at the immigration thing, but a number of topics, the radical transgender movement, identity politics, the Constitution. You think about it, this is really in my lifetime, the closest I've ever seen to a large group of people in certain regions of the country that do not wish to be the United States of America.
Yeah.
They really don't. They don't wish to be a part of America.
Right.
It's not that there's a disagreement on one issue. It's that across the board on so many issues, they don't, frankly, wish to support the Constitution of the United States.
No, they don't.
They want a new Constitution, which means they want a new country. I mean, we're seeing this to levels. I think it was it Britt Hume who said we haven't seen this since Arkansas in the 50s.
Yeah,
you know, with segregation,
right?
States just saying no. Federal government doesn't rule over us, as if the supremacy clause of the Constitution doesn't exist. But you think about it, when you actually lay it out, some of the constitutional issues out there, they don't believe in a constitutional republic.
No.
They don't. They've made it clear they do not want to have the Electoral College. They do not wish to have the Senate. They've talked about that.
Yep.
They want the Supreme Court to be activists. They don't want people to interpret the Constitution. They want people in judge roles in order to make law. They've been blunt about that. This isn't like these things are secret.
Right.
The whole identity politics of the left is absolute racism.
Yep.
They judge people by groups and not individuals. And they're proud of it. And
no, this is what they actually fight for.
This is what they fight for. The radical transgender movement, when you think about it, is to strip women of their ability to have opportunity, you know, to compete against other women.
Yeah.
It's as misogynist as a movement, and I'm so glad you and I sit back here because we at times on the radical transgender movement have felt so alone.
Yeah.
We had Republicans and members of our own audience 10 years ago when we were saying, wait till you see what's coming down the line. You got to stop this now. People would say, oh, come on, you guys. You're You're just going overboard on all this. Yeah, really?
Mm-hmm.
See where this has gone? The pure, absolute insanity. So the hatred of women, the misogyny aspect of the Democratic Party now, which is mainstream.
Yep.
Now, people say, well, it's not all Democrats. It's 99% of Democrats that serve in the Congress that Democrats vote for each and every year and continue to vote for. The identity politics, judging people by groups and not individuals, that's across the board in the Democratic Party.
Yep.
Identity politics is a solid mainstream issue of the, narrative of the Democratic Party, a belief of the Democratic Party. We judge people by the groups that you're in. We don't judge you as an individual. You're seeing that with Mandami, his tenant director. White people owning property, white people owning property, white people owning property, white people only property, owning property. Just amazing. We know from critical race theory that failed miserably. That whole concept was that society must be set up with the belief that all whites are culturally racist to the point where it might as well be in their DNA.
Sure.
Because you can't change it, so you need to set up society as if all whites are racist. And so you look at all of that is absolutely against what the United States of America is about and what we've been striving for the last 1,000 years.
Yeah.
I just had to throw that out. You said 1,000 years. You're not credible either.
That's right. You can't exaggerate. Only they can.
Well, we're closing in on 250, aren't we? 250. Yeah. Oh boy, they're gonna hate that. Oh my God, the left's gonna hate. Oh no, we're celebrating America now again.
No, I've already priced in the violent protesters.
Yeah.
At some of those events.
Wow, it's a great point. Didn't even think that.
I hope I'm wrong. But based on recent history, I think it's something that should be planned for. I'm sure the administration already knows that. I'm sure all the officials responsible for security at these events know that.
And now you have Minnesota. You've got Minneapolis, and I say Minnesota because you've got the governor who is, the biggest hate mongerer out there, throwing it left and right against ICE agents. You have the left now lying or jumping to conclusions to the point of absurdity. They're the Gestapo.
Yeah.
When ICE is enforcing the law of Congress. That, by the way, let's go back and look at it and see how many Democrats voted for these laws way back when.
Mm-hmm.
Enforcing the laws of Congress, and Congress represents the people of the United States. They don't give a damn.
Nope.
They don't give a damn about the representatives of the people, of we the people, making laws in order to have a sane society. They don't want that. They don't want any of that.
No.
And you're seeing it. And for me, I will say I've never seen it to this level of anti-Americanism from Americans, where Americans actually do not wish to be American. That is a new one, and it's exclusive to the left.
Yeah.
Except for Tucker Carlson, who wishes he was a Russian.
Right. They got great grocery stores. I don't know if you've heard.
Not as good as Wegmans. Nothing matches Wegmans. It's like, are you talking about the Politburo grocery store? Is that what's
Yeah, right. Well, look, it's the rich people of Russia, both of them, shop at that grocery store. The oligarchs, they're number one with oligarchs.
And so, that's now the good thing is there are people finally fighting back. this does not at all seem like the summer of 2020.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Right.
The blue wave of intimidation is not working this time. In fact, I don't even see that it exists. You have on, and I won't even say the right. It's this on the same side, because Eric, we're really not talking. When you see people, we mentioned Stephen A. Smith, for example. By the way, he brought up a great point yesterday, talking about the Democratic Party and conservative blacks, and how they judge conservative blacks, and everything that we have said. Stephen A. Smith now realizes he's going to have to eventually stop saying, "But I'm a loyal liberal Democrat," because what you're actually saying on the issues makes you very far from a Democrat in 2026.
Right.
But you have one side that I might disagree on specific issues, but at least they're sane on the right. The left is completely insane.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy. And we've got some great examples coming up yesterday from the Senate hearing on dangerous abortion drugs that are, dangerous to the mother.
Right.
Which got into talking to a doctor, an OBGYN, on can a man get pregnant? And this was better than Josh Hawley's, what was that, going back to 2021 when that one happened, way back
Yeah,
then?
I think so. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of when that happened with him. I think I may have that here somewhere. The one from, because we might as well give an entire history
Right.
of it. Yeah, here it is. This is the one of Josh Hawley. This has got to go back like 4 years now, I think. Here we go. This is when he was talking to the Berkeley professor. Here we go.
Professor Bridges, you said several times, you've used a phrase, I want to make sure I understand what you mean by it. You've referred to people with a capacity for pregnancy. Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
So this isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
Oh, so your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic, and it opens up trans people to violence by not recognizing that.
Wow, you're saying that I'm opening up people to violence by asking whether or not women are the folks who can have pregnancies?
So I want to note that 1 out of 5 transgender persons have attempted suicide. So I think it's important
because of my line of questioning? So we can't talk about it?
Because denying that trans people exist and pretending not to know that they exist
I'm
is
denying that
dangerous.
trans people exist by asking you if you're talking about women having pregnancies?
Do you believe that men can get pregnant?
No, I don't think women can get
So
pregnant.
you are denying that trans people exist?
And that leads to violence? Is this how you run your classroom? Are students allowed to question you?
Absolutely.
Or are they also treated like this, where
No,
they're told that they're opening up people to violence?
We have a good
by
time in my
questioning?
class. You should join.
Oh, I bet.
You might learn a lot.
Now, think about that. Think about the insanity of Professor Bridges there, the absolute insanity. What she is saying is that, because as you can tell, Josh Hawley wants to know how she thinks. Please explain this to me. She won't even explain it.
Nope.
But because by explaining it or even questioning it, what she is saying is if you deny that men can't get pregnant, people that are transgender will commit suicide. Think about that.
Yeah.
She's admitting there's an incredible mental health problem here that we can't talk about. We just have to enable it. This is how insane the left is right now. This isn't even, I guess it's the new left, but this isn't even the traditional left versus right that I grew up with when I became a talk show host back in 1989.
Well, it isn't, again, you can't have a discussion because just asking a question.
Right.
Means that you are transphobic
and
or whatever phobic, depending on who they're trying to defend.
and you're committing violence.
Right.
You're committing violence because you say something that might make someone else commit suicide. You're to blame because you're asking a question. Let's not talk about the mental health part of it, because if you say, well, then there's a huge mental health problem, you're transphobic. Well, you just said they commit suicide or attempt suicide to a much greater degree than any other thing out there. I don't know any other demographic that's committing suicide because I may disagree with their opinion.
And when you introduce the word violence, this is where they justify their violence.
Yes.
Just like
great point.
when Brian Thompson was murdered in cold blood, AOC, a lawmaker, said you have to understand that when people get their claims denied, because Brian Thompson was a healthcare CEO, they see that as an act of violence. She was justifying the murder of Brian Thompson.
Right.
And she still holds office. You hear this child of a professor, you hear the little back and forth. It's like debating
a child.
A child.
Yeah. A spoiled brat child.
You can hear in her voice, she thinks she's winning.
Yeah.
You can hear this confidence. She thinks if she just talks faster, it makes her right. But it just makes her more of a moron because she puts in more. In that time period, she's able to get in more moronic ideas.
But you think about it. If you ask questions, that's violence. And therefore, as you said, it justifies their violence.
Right.
If you're in law enforcement and you're enforcing the law, we're calling that violence. Therefore, violence is justified against you. They sit there and come up with delusional, completely false definitions of what violence actually is to then justify their violent actions.
This is a war to them.
Yep.
This is their war. And the violence, quite unfortunately, and I hope I'm wrong, but I believe it will continue.
We are Red Eye Radio.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Tax season. It can also be a heightened season for scammers and identity thieves. For example,
agencies like the IRS, they don't call you up and then come take your house. With the IRS, they're going to be sending you lots of letters. There's going to be lots of interactions. They don't just come and take your house as a first step.
That example provided by Andrew Zumwalt of University of Missouri Extension is one of several pressure tactics scammers apply to obtain details like Social Security numbers and bank account information, or to have money sent by a non-traditional service in an expedited manner.
Tax season is huge because with a tax return, there are so many opportunities to apply for credits or other opportunities to maybe use a child's Social Security number that isn't your child.
Once tax documents are no longer needed, shredding and discarding the documents is encouraged. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up on in the bottom of the hour, if you thought that the Josh Hawley audio cut that we played with that professor from Berkeley that happened a couple of years ago was bizarre, wait till you hear what we have coming up following the bottom of the hour. But first, I'm going to play this audio cut. This is one of the trans activists interviewed outside the Supreme Court yesterday. All right. Now listen to this, okay, because this is so delusional. Here we go.
All right.
Why are you splitting up sports? Like, I'm pretty sure a woman could play basketball as well as a man if she practiced and he practiced. Like, what's the issue?
She said, why do we even split up sports? I'm pretty sure a woman could play basketball as well as a man if she practiced. You know, it's almost as if you think you're being this is the thing about the trans activists out there across the board. I keep thinking I'm being punked.
Yeah, it does feel that way.
Yeah,
it feels like, okay, they're all gonna go, you know what? We had you guys going for like 10 or 15 years. We had you guys going for 10 or 15 years. None of us believe any of it.
Yeah, we just want to see the look on your face.
We wanted to see how far you guys would take this.
We're really in a method acting class.
Right.
That's what
and you guys bought it.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you so much for being here. Download our Red Eye Radio app now, and you can listen when and where you choose.
And thank you.
So here we go, because this is just more of the bizarro world yesterday, and it all started. This was a Senate hearing on an abortion drug that they believe is hurting women.
Yeah,
that it's harmful to women, and they get into talking about because you know the whole thing. Well, the abortion drug's needed for men and women. So of course it gets in that direction because you've got the left there, and this is the first audio cut comes from Senator to show you how this all started. To do it the timeline correctly here, it was Senator Ashley Moody who started asking a question about men can get pregnant to the people on the panel. One of them was Dr. Nisha Verma, the Democrat witness, who is an OBGYN, who is a doctor, a medical doctor. All right, so here's where it goes. Here's how it started. All right,
Miss Verma, can men get pregnant?
Dr. Verma,
Yes.
I just want to make sure we're
Dr.
all
Verma,
addressing
can
each
men
other
get
with-
pregnant? As a doctor, give me your opinion. As a doctor, can men get pregnant?
I mean,
I'll move on to the next one. Doctor, can men get pregnant?
No.
I know you're a lawyer, an AG, like I was an AG. Can men get pregnant?
No.
okay, so that's how it started, and then I guess her time was ending, so it went to Josh Hawley. Okay,
all right,
and so he wanted to continue that line of questioning. So, fasten your seatbelts.
here we go. Here we go.
Here we go. Wait a minute.
Here we
Hold
go.
it. Stop what you're doing unless you're driving.
Yeah.
Okay. Give yourself, don't be. We'll give you a minute here.
Take a breath.
Right. Take a breath. Don't be drinking something. You don't want to spit it up. Anything like that.
Yeah, don't have anything in your hand that you could throw and break something else with.
Yes. We don't want any damage caused.
Yeah,
To your home or your property.
yeah.
But here we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since you bring it up, why don't we just start there? Dr. Verma, I wasn't sure I understood your answer to Senator Moody a moment ago. Do you think that men can get pregnant?
I hesitated there because I wasn't sure where the conversation was going or what the goal was. I mean, I do take care of patients with different identities. I take care of many women. I take care of people with different identities. And so that's where I paused. I think, I wasn't sure where you were going with that.
Well, the goal is just the truth. So can men get pregnant?
Again, the reason I paused there is I'm not really sure what the goal of the question
The goal is just to establish a biological reality. You just said a moment ago that science and evidence should control, not politics. So let's just test that proposition. Can men get pregnant?
I take care of people with many identities, but
Can men get
I take care
pregnant?
of many women that can get pregnant. I do take care of people that don't identify as women. That
Can men get pregnant?
again, as I'm saying,
Let me just remind you what you testified to a moment ago. Science and evidence should control, not politics. So Can men get pregnant? You're
I
a
totally
doctor, I
agree.
think.
Science and evidence should guide medicine.
Do science and evidence tell us that men can get pregnant? Biological men, can they get pregnant?
I also think yes/no questions like this are a political tool. And
No, yes/no questions are about the truth, doctor. Let's not make a mockery of this proceeding. This is about science and evidence, and I'm asking you. The United States Supreme Court just heard arguments yesterday at great length on this question. This is not a hypothetical question. This is not theoretical. It affects real people in their real lives. And you're here as an expert, called by the other side as an expert, and you've been telling us that you follow, right, you're a doctor, and you follow the science and the evidence. So I just want to know, based on the science, can men get pregnant? That's a yes or no question. It really is, I think.
I think you're trying to reduce the complexity of a lot.
I'm not. I'm trying to get, it's not complex. I'm trying to get to an answer, and I'm trying to test, frankly, your veracity as a medical professional and as a scientist. Can men get pregnant?
I think you're also conflating
This is
male
extraordinary.
female with
No, I'm not conflating male and female. They're two different things. There's biological men and there's biological women. And I want to know, can men get pregnant?
What you were talking about is biological.
You're not going to answer my question, it sounds like.
Biological males.
This isn't hard, doctor. Can men get pregnant? Yes or no?
I would be more than happy to have a conversation with you that is not coming from a place of trying to be polarized and push.
I'm not trying to be polarizing. I'm trying to ask. I think it is extraordinary that we are here in a hearing about science and about women. And for the record, it's women who get pregnant, not men. We are here about the safety of women and science that shows that this abortion drug causes adverse health events in 11% of cases. That's 22 times greater than the FDA label, another fact you haven't acknowledged. And yet you won't even acknowledge the basic reality that biological men don't get pregnant. There's a difference between biological men and biological women. I don't know how we can take you seriously and your claims to be a person of science if you won't level with this on this basic issue. I thought we were past all of this, frankly. I can't believe we're still here talking about this.
I am a person of science, and I'm also someone here who's here to represent the complex experiences of my patients, and I don't think polarized language or questions serve that goal. I don't think they serve the American people.
It is not polarizing to say that there is a scientific difference between men and women, and I want this to be clear and for the record. It is not polarizing to say that women are a biological reality and should be treated and protected as such. That is not polarizing. That is truth. It is also, by the way, the United States Constitution, which offers unique protections to women in a variety of circumstances as women. And your refusal to recognize women as women and men as men is deeply corrosive to science, to public trust, and yes, to constitutional protections for women as women. And I think it's extraordinary that you would sit here and advance a political agenda that has been thoroughly discredited and rejected by the American people in this forum. And I'm glad we had this exchange because it is exceptionally clarifying. It is also in many ways quite depressing.
Now, I have one question.
Yeah.
Is she single?
She doesn't sound old enough to be dating. She talks like a child. Just like the other back and forth that we played a little while ago. They sound like children. Is this a Doogie Howser situation where she got into med school at the age of 4? How is she a doctor?
I have no idea.
Is she just somebody who identifies as a doctor?
And is that, well, did you hear her when she was on with Senator Moody?
Yeah.
She's doctor. She wants to know, she wants that title. Doctor. It's a doctor. I'm a doctor.
That's how she identifies.
She identifies. Identify as a doctor.
I've seen enough commercials where there's a guy, an actor, and they have to put it on there. This is an actor, not a real doctor, wearing a smock. And he's telling you what you should take they want you to believe. This is exactly what I'm getting from her. I identify as a doctor. Your patients? Who are these patients? Is that like a tea party where there's not anything in the actual teapot? I stopped my granddaughters cold on that one. No, if we're having a tea party, I'm going to need something in the teapot.
It can't be make-believe.
Yeah, we're not doing the make-believe thing in this family.
What's maddening about it, and this is where, and I, who was it? Yeah, it was Trump's granddaughter who, when asked about politics, she's the golfer.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, I think if people would sit down and listen. No. And I understand she's young. So, I mean,
Right.
that's the, to me, that's the safety valve for anybody who really doesn't want to get in and discuss these issues is,
right.
Well, if we could all just have a discussion, you can have a discussion with them.
Right.
Let's look at the number of things here. First off, when she says, I'm a scientist. No, she's not.
No, you're not.
She may be a doctor, but she's not. She may have gotten the degree, but she's not a scientist because she finds scientific questions offensive. You cannot be a scientist if you find scientific questions offensive. Any question is open when you're talking science. And the fact that she views a question, a biological scientific question, as polarizing shows you she's not a scientist. And you know something? She may have the degree, but she's no damn doctor that I would ever go to.
I have to go back to when
I can't. She's an OBGYN.
I go back to when my niece was going through medical school, and it's grueling. The tests are grueling. And I was sending her words of encouragement because, I'm really smart too. But no, I was trying to support her and tell her that we all have confidence in you. We know that you have this in you to pass your tests. And she did. She's a doctor today and has been for years now. And I wonder how the doctor you just heard in that audio cut ever became a doctor, because my question is, what did she put on the answers to those tests?
Was she lying?
What did she put on those on did she make up answers as she went along? Did she lie? What does she actually believe? And the fact of the matter is that she will tell you, basically, she's trying to make the point, well, this is all politically polarizing and blah, 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 blah. No. You're the one who is the so-called expert here, who went through, if you truly are a doctor and not a make-believe doctor, a series of tests to get to where you are today. I need to know how the hell you answered on those tests. I need to know what you put down on paper. Because if you put down any of this BS that you're spewing, you should have been failed and you shouldn't be a doctor at all. And based how you're answering this, I pray for your patience.
Where's the compromise with her?
There is none.
Because remember, we're talking scientific evidence. By the way, and when they always say you're denying that trans exists, no, I believe that there are people out there that actually believe, for whatever reason, that they may be the opposite sex.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not denying it. I'm simply saying biologically they're not. But see, they need to demonize across the board. They can't explain their own position. And so if you ask questions, you are committing violence. You're being polarizing when the polarization is coming from the insanity of the radical transgender movement.
Yeah.
That is absolutely the most misogynist thing
right.
that I've seen in covering politics for over half a century. Nothing comes close to the misogyny that exists here.
It's maddening.
I'm really expecting the Democrats and the left to come out and go, well, barefoot and pregnant.
Yeah.
Right. I'm actually expecting, because it's so misogynist, and you know it is, because they won't take questions, and as soon as you ask a question, you're being polarizing, you're committing violence, all this, when they are the ones, they are, again, projecting what they're doing. They're the ones we have seen. We have seen the number of suspects out there of violent crimes.
Yep.
Who are transgender. And when you bring it up, they go crazy.
Yep.
But it exists out there. We know it.
Yeah.
And it's a problem. And if you have compassion for people, you don't enable them. You get them help. You don't enable them. You don't cut off their body parts. You don't give permission to children to take irreversible hormones or cut off body parts. Reprehensible.
It really is.
We are Red Eye Radio.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, there it is. James Comer to hold Hillary and Bill Clinton in contempt of Congress.
Yeah.
They wouldn't testify about Epstein.
Yeah. Right.
And so, look, Bannon went to jail.
Right.
It's a subpoena from Congress.
Yep.
You have to abide by it.
Yep.
You can't be in contempt of Congress.
See where this goes. I'm curious about that. I saw a picture. I forget what news organization it was. You know, that Bill and Hillary don't have zero plans to show up. I'm like, okay, let's see where it goes.
See where it goes. That's going to be interesting to see where that goes.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.